Some of us can appreciate the history of Western theater going all the way back to the ancient Greeks, back to those classical Greek poets and playwrights from Aeschylus and Sophocles to Euripides and Aristophanes, etc. From the theater of Dionysus to Thespis of Icaria, that original celebrity superstar from which we get the word thespian, meaning actor and or actress. For the ancient Greeks, going to the various theaters to learn about their mythological deities was tantamount to going to church. Even today's church architecture incorporates both ancient and contemporary theater design. Or maybe our appreciation just goes back to the 17th century Globe Theatre in the Round of London, associated with the Bard of Education himself, the great William Shakespeare.
I know you, you know me.
A replica of that theater now presents his work not far from the original site.
Come together.
And then for some of us, it's only necessary to think of how far African Americans have come from those funny little pickaninnies, Uncle Toms, Coons, Mammies, Bucks, and tragic mulattoes of yesteryear, and the part that black theater has played to improve such imagery. Unfortunately, systematic stereotyping still exists in the form of racial profiling today. But the point here is that black theater has not only been instrumental over the years in combating both prejudice and that mawkish and negative imagery, but also for creating more opportunities in the very lucrative business of mass entertainment and communications. It's not about the success of any one person or company, but part of an ongoing collective struggle toward holistic egalitarianism. To be sure, it involves all peoples of color and sexuality with a duty that seems to historically befall African Americans to pave the way. Civil and human rights, for which America's former slaves still has a long way to go, are the civil and human rights for all Americans, and it is only a declaration of interdependence that will eminently take all of us weaker people over the hump. We shall overcome pluribus unum, or not at all. The following program, InnerCityOasis, was completed as a student film in 1990, but it is still quite relevant as Inner City Cultural Center of Los Angeles was well ahead of its time as a successful experiment in multiculturalism. Unfortunately, Inner City has since gone under with the demise of its founder, Stephen Jackson, in 1996. This project is in loving memory of Jack and all the friends of Inner City that have made that transition before us. Most of all, however, it is for the living and is dedicated to the corporate renaissance of the center as a 501c3 with a strong and sustainable life of its own. However, without a vision the people perish, and in this case, a very viable and quintessential institution has seemed to perish without its visionary. But good ideas are as ageless as ancient Greek theater, and what was already antiquity even then. Thus it finally occurred to yours truly that the late C. Bernard Jackson's Buddhist but much shared multicultural vision is nothing new under the sun and actually imperishable, and that the following program could possibly be an operations manual for the center's day-to-day, month-to-month, year-to-year, and perhaps even generation-to-generation success. A documented manual that can also serve to reestablish Inner City Cultural Center as a binary star for both the left and right coasts, with a comeback in Los Angeles, California, and a twin sister in Atlanta, Georgia. At Ozone Ghetto Production, we've plans for a division equal to our Human Resources Department entitled Social Responsibilities. We believe the greatest resource is indeed the human resource, but also that this communal engagement need not be just a tax write-off or corporate secret to be brought out in case of scandal or to counter criticism. We also believe PR that only says is not the same as SR that actually does, and the Resurgence of Inner City Cultural Center is our flagship community endeavor. For we further believe that if we will only come together with even more corporate, individual, and even U.S. Senate support, Just like that fool on the hill but still authoritative old flat top sings, we can do even more artistic damage through this endeavor than the Beatles did from their initial invasion of the U.S. in 1964 to their breakup in 1969. For we ultimately believe we should never underestimate the perspicacity and uniformity of the arts, to include the performing arts, and that the very naturally recurring old flat top incarnate must surely be the rock star, if how many have recorded come together is an indication. Perhaps indeed together we can realize his presence with regard to that early warning, which in all probability coincides with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s greatest and most glorious vision. Not that monuments and numerous accolades are objectionable, but they are not exactly the inexorable majesty he, like the prophet Isaiah, so eloquently and fervently prognosticated. And 5 years is nothing to give for the next 105 years of pop multiculture dedicated to global peace, ethnic harmony, and being truly free at last. Contact us for how you can become involved with the Resurgence of Inner City Cultural Center. We strongly urge you to avoid any solicitations for contributions to this cause without vetting its legitimacy as per the IRS and great states of California and Georgia. Thank you.
Los Angeles, California, a sprawling metropolis. Land of freeways, fancy cars, picturesque palm trees, and elaborate estates. A blend of both the glamorous and the exotic. Los Angeles is also one of the most ethnically diverse places on Earth, the Ellis Island of California. But unlike New York City, Los Angeles is not a theater town. And when it comes to minority theater, LA is like a desert. But here, located in the inner city community of Pico Union, is an oasis, an artistic oasis, Inner City Cultural Center. For more than 2 decades, Inner City Cultural Center has survived as both a fertile breeding ground for up-and-coming talent and a creative outlet for established professionals. It has stood as a means for showcasing talent from the minority community and as an important link between the inner city community and the film and television industry. Whether acclaimed, struggling, or novice, Inner City has served to bring artists closer to their audience.
May I just say how wonderful it is to know that this institution has survived many hardships, many tribulations, but is still here and still getting better and better each year.
Inner City is a learning place for professionals as well as beginners.
Black theater in the community where young aspiring actors and actresses can come to learn their trade and their craft is very important. Now, I'm from New York City, New Federal Theater and Negro Ensemble Company, and we had this type of training where a person could go to get his feet wet, to jump in, to make your mistakes, to learn your craft from experts, you know, and also from your peers. So it was very important for me to jump into something like Inner City when I came here from New York, so I could continue to learn my craft. This is a wonderful place for all minorities.
This is Magnificent Montague, 12.
Born out of the ashes of the Watts riot in 1965, Inner City was the brainchild of C. Bernard Jackson, a former UCLA music for dance instructor.
It was a tragic beginning, in a sense. There were virtually no other theaters in the Los Angeles area that were addressing problems of concern to people of color. Nick Stewart's Ebony Showcase obviously was the oldest and most respected black theater in Southern California. I was always interested in trying to develop something here. I knew the audience was here. The problem was how to find the support necessary to get something like that underway. The answer came, oddly enough, in 1965.
Though it is associated with the Watts riot and the black arts movement of the 1960s, Inner City is more than just another black theater. Over the years, the center's activities have included performing arts contributions from other minority communities. Like the city of Los Angeles itself, Inner City Cultural Center reflects an ethnic diversification, a characteristic that is not accidental.
Interestingly enough, we were less concerned about the communication gap which existed between the black and white communities. Everybody was aware of the existence of that gap. But to examine much more closely the gap which existed between peoples of color who shared similar problems and similar visions, but very seldom came into contact with one another.
Mako, actor and former executive director of East West Players, was a member of Inner City's first board of directors.
The whole concept at that time was to develop, nurture, and make this Inner City theater company uniquely Los Angeles of its own, you know. And which I liked very much, because we're talking about not only just black actors, but Latinos, Asians, white, you name it.
In 1972, the center moved from the Boulevard Theater, an old movie house on Washington Boulevard, to the nearby Scottish Rite Masonic Temple at Pico and New Hampshire. Since then, the building has undergone a complete transformation, from a 1925 fraternal meeting hall to a modern artistic haven with 2 dance studios, a library, 2 main theaters, and a cabaret-style cafe. Inner City Cultural Center has persevered.
Most people did not believe that we would survive beyond the first 2 years, let's say, and certainly did not believe we'd survive beyond the 3rd year, which is the year in which...
In the beginning, the center's survival depended on city, state, and federal grants. However, there are major disadvantages of such a dependency.
Because of the fact that we represent minority community, oftentimes the funding source look upon our organization as, well, okay, you only represent or reflect less than 8% of Los Angeles population, or 12% or 20%, you know. And therefore, as compared to, let's say, Mark Taper Forum or LA Civic Light Opera or what have you, instead of us getting millions that is vitally needed to restructure, purchase, and renovate our facilities, we are really scrambling for, you know, like anywhere from 2,000 to 20,000. All the minority theaters in Los Angeles, whether it's Inner City, Bilingual Foundation, Plaza de la Raza, East West Players, it really doesn't matter, you know. We need all the help we can get.
All of us have similar problems. We're always given the smallest piece of the pie. And very often the minorities have to fight among themselves for that small piece of the pie, which is very sad. While major theaters in the city enjoy the larger portion of funding from the federal and state and city and county governments. It seems to me that those of us who need it most are the ones who get it least. However, we've never let that be a deterrent. We have always managed to work at the highest level with the least amount of money. The trick is to do them well, to do a show well when you have very little money. And that's what most minority theaters are forced to do.
With or without government funding, one of the main reasons Inner City has survived is the audience it has built up over the years. People of the inner city and from throughout Los Angeles County have consistently supported the center.
I always liked to come to Inner City. Before I became affiliated with Inner City in '85, as an actress, I came here for different performances, even when they were in another building many, many years ago. And I think it affords an opportunity not only for actresses and actors, but of course for playwrights, for people that want to put on work that may not be put on anywhere else. And for an audience to come and be able to see that work and to have it in the community, it's just an excellent opportunity for all those people involved, people that are on the stage and those people who are able to work behind the scenes.
Behind the scenes. Sustaining such an organization, of course, involves much more than the eye can see, much more than is on display, much more even than the work that goes into a show or performance. The staff at Inner City is predominantly composed of artists who have trained themselves for both the administrative and technical needs of the center.
As with many other nonprofit agencies, staffs come and go. When I first returned to the center about 2.5 years ago, it was just Jack holding down the fort and with an assistant or secretary. Since then, we've grown to perhaps 5 almost full-time individuals, volunteers coming in occasionally.
You can't categorize my job. Whatever is necessary to keep us going forward in a positive vein. And that's what I do. Sometimes you'll see me painting, sometimes you'll see me designing, sometimes you might see me singing, dancing, whatever. Sometimes you might see me outside on the front or in the front sweeping the alley. Whatever it takes. Our house is not as equipped as a Mark Taper form, so we have to improvise quite a bit. So we need to be quick on our feet in terms of solving problems as they come. I try to resolve situations as quickly as possible and also make sure that the show comes off as professional as possible.
You can never lose focus. How many of you play basketball?
Aside from shows that come and go, various programs are offered at Inner City for the cultivation of the performing arts. Hal DeWint has been affiliated with the center since its inception. He teaches acting at the center through the Hal DeWint Actors Studio.
The importance of having something like this to come to is it's like a home. And the reason why I know that being the teacher and director is because when I was a student myself, I needed that in New York City, and it was supplied to me.
Another important aspect of Inner City's cultivation efforts is dance. In 1971, the Dance Theater of Harlem made its West Coast debut at Inner City. That same year, the center's own repertory dance theater embarked upon its first national tour. Lady Helene Walker-Vereen has taught dance at the center, emphasizing the Dunham technique.
The Catherine Dunham technique is actually the ballet of black dance. Miss Dunham, through anthropology, discovered how the black body moves, and she created this technique, which consists of ballet, modern, jazz, African, Haitian, and Brazilian dance.
One of the more unique programs offered by the center is the annual short play competition.
We need a script.
Backed by an initial contribution from actress Marguerite Ray, The competition is involved with bringing new writers to the attention of industry and theater professionals who are in the position to hire and recruit.
We have a lot of writers in our community, good writers, with original plays. Personally, I feel as if we can do new works all the time and still have more, plenty left over. We don't need to dredge up old works and do them over and over again. And this is what we're sort of trying to let people know. We're also trying to let people know that within the ethnic community and small theater community, we have a lot of very capable playwrights.
Jean Boland is currently the director of Inner City's Resource Center, which finds employment for qualified artists and technicians. He oversees the center's touring company and once headed Inner City's Readers Theater, a program designed to give new writers a chance for their work to be heard by an audience.
I think in many ways it was a forerunner of the play competition. The only difference is that the play competition provides a play that is fully mounted. And this year we have 107 from all over the country. And then it also provides the involvement of the industry. It has casting directors, producers, writers, screenwriters, novelists, and people who will be able to find employment for the actors and for the writers.
The written word is where it all begins, and we have to develop.
In 1988, Ernest Phan won first place in the competition with his play William V. An internship for the Robert Guillaume Show was the first place award. Maureen Reed is assistant to the executive producer, Robert Guillaume.
It's very important for us to think of adding new blood to network television. Anyone can see any of the major shows with a few exceptions and see that new ideas are needed, new writers are needed. And I think that with the programs here at Inner City, a lot of talent can come through if we remember to come down and offer these people opportunities. When Robert heard about the competition and was asked about offering an internship, he was quite excited about it.
Listen, before I tie into this thing, let me ask you a question.
Yeah?
Is there a bathroom in this joint?
Warner Brothers also provided an internship for one of the competition's winners.
It's very wonderful to be back here because I came to school here in 1981 and 82. And I feel very much at home here and very much part of the neighborhood again. And that means a lot to me, a whole lot more than I could possibly express in words. Thank you.
During the summer months of 1989, the center held its first annual Composers and Songwriters competition, First Bar. But First Bar and the Act II short play competition are both modeled after the highly successful Ira Aldridge acting competition, a program made possible through the efforts of Ted Lange of The Love Boat.
I was going to call the acting competition the Ted Lange acting competition, but that's so pretentious. I didn't want to do that. Then I decided, well, you know, this is a good way to get people interested in Ira Aldridge. And for those actors that don't know who he is, maybe they might take the time to discover and get a little history at the same time they're plying their craft.
Ira Aldridge was the first African-American actor to successfully play Shakespeare. He was internationally known during his heyday and brought to the works of William Shakespeare a new dimension, especially to the role of Othello, a part that customarily has been played by white actors in blackface.
One of the things about working in community theater, particularly equity waiver, is that the actors were not getting paid. So I devised this plan in which I would have actors, if they were going to do the play, they had to do the run of the play. If they did the run of the play, they would be eligible to apply for this acting competition in which they could do a scene from anything they wanted to do. The only criterion at the time was to have worked at Inner City.
The competition is open to anyone who feels his or her work is ready to be seen by professionals. It provides an opportunity for actors of all ethnic backgrounds to showcase their talents. It can also serve as a crucial first step to the more lucrative film and television industry.
Hollywood is very fond of saying, well, you know, there are not any really new talented people around, but there are, and the question is, how do you go about finding them and hunting them out? And when we announced that we're doing the acting competition, well, people come from all over to be exposed. And the great thing about it is we have the industry here to see their agents.
Although cash awards and scholarships are given, the greatest award perhaps is the possibility of being discovered by that agent or casting director who is either in the audience or on the panel of judges.
What I look for as a judge is the marketable personality of a particular person, their ability to understand and interpret the material that they have selected, their ability to enunciate correctly, because that's very important, and that little identifiable, indefinable something that people have or do not have.
As winner of the female category in 1987, B.B. Smith has since worked on shows such as Knots Landing, Dallas, Hunter, A Different World, and The Women of Brewster Place.
I still didn't have an agent, so I said, okay, well, I'll get in the competition again. So in 1987, I got in the competition, and I won. And there was a woman there by the name of Eileen Knight. She's a casting director, and she currently works for Reuben Cannon and Associates. But at the time, she was casting A Different World. And they had just had their pilot, and, you know, we're sort of going back and forth in terms of maybe they were going to add another cast member, you know, that kind of thing. So I got hired, and I became a semi-regular on the show. The Ira Aldrich acting competition is a valuable experience. It really is. I mean, it's like if I hadn't won, I'd be in it this year. But the simple fact that people see you, they remember you. A lot of my work has been on recommendations. And I'm not a superstar or anything like that, but I work and I make my living from being an actress.
I just finished working on an Eddie Murphy movie entitled Harlem Nights. It is being presently shot at Paramount Pictures. It's starring Eddie Murphy, Richard Pryor, oh God, how can I forget? Red Fox, Della Reese, Arsenio Hall, and starting a picture in a couple of weeks entitled The 5 Heartbeats, which will be produced by Henry Winkler. So there's no doubt Inner City has played a very important part of my life, and that is because I ended up winning the Ira Aldrich competition. And it has helped me to propel and to learn a little bit more about show business. And thank God to something that I got from my own community.
Like the entire trilogy of competitions, the Ira Aldrich acting competition only guarantees an opportunity. Winning doesn't necessarily guarantee commercial success. The competitions can, however, provide the encouragement and impetus that is needed to achieve such a goal.
If it weren't for Inner City, I don't think I would be an actress. How I personally benefited from the competition, it gave me ammunition to call people to say, I won the competition, and now will you see me? It also gave me a personal confidence in myself. There's no other outlet that I can think of where you can get this type of applause and recognition and Queen for the Day and all that. I think if it hadn't been for the Ira Aldrich Awards, I probably would have just thrown my hands up and taken nursing or something. I don't know.
Hawthorne James has been associated with Inner City Cultural Center since coming to Los Angeles 13 years ago. He had acted in several plays at the center, but it wasn't until he won the competition in 1985 that he was considered a professional.
My biggest break came through the Ira Aldrich competition, and it was a bigger break than I even realized, because one of the judges that night was a casting director, Reuben Cannon. So I won the competition that year, and a week later, about a week later, I think it was about a week later, I got a call from Reuben's office saying, come down and audition. And the audition that I had was for The Color Purple.
Opportunity, exposure, recognition. That these things come with performing or competing at Inner City Cultural Center is just a part of what sustains it. Loyal patrons, a dedicated staff, professional instruction, All of these things combine to make the center what it is. But just as important is the willingness of celebrated alumni and other professionals to keep coming back, using the center to hone their skills when they are not on camera or fulfilling contractual obligations. They, too, serve as links between the minority community and the film and television industry.
In this business, you got a 1 in a million chance no matter what your color is. Your chances and opportunities decrease the darker your skin gets. Not just inner city, but places like inner city. It gives people a place to hone their craft, to practice. If you only got a chance to act when you got a job, you never get any practice in because you don't work that much. So small theaters and community theaters all around the country are where young actors and older actors and writers and producers and directors hone their skills and practice. This play that we're doing now, these are just people I picked up in the community that have done a phenomenal job and created an incredible play. And it was born in inner city. That's one of the things that makes inner city so important, because I got a chance to do this at inner city. If I would have had the straight mounted, I couldn't have done it. But at inner city, I saw the magic that these kids and people created, and I knew I couldn't let it close. And so I brought it to the Henry Fonda. But it was born in inner city.
Lucky we got 'em. Good time.
Mr. Anderson, does the encyclopedia have anything about the theater?
Oh, yes, a very extensive section, Thelma. It covers James Baldwin, Lorraine Hansberry, has biographies of Marian Anderson, Leontine Price, Paul Roach.
Well, for me, the Cultural Center is a place, it's my cultural home. I've been associated with the center for 5 years now, off and on. The first show I did here was Anna Lucasta, and I'm in Autumn Heat now. Inner City is a place for everyone. It's a place for the beginner. It's a place for the professional. Anyone who belongs to the center, it gives them an opportunity to be a family. We're all working together to put a production on, to be the best we can be with what we have. I just enjoy it. The industry is a difficult industry, and sometimes you're hot, you know, in this industry, and sometimes you're cooler.
Well, Lorna, will you take Thelma and Michael on?
And in those times, the center
We have to talk about this.
is a place where you can express yourself artistically. You enjoy contributing to a community like this because you're appreciated. And I just find this place an enlightenment to me.
I wish we had more time.
What were you going to say, Mom?
I was going to ask Miss Drayton how her mother and father reacted to.
A veteran of stage and screen with such classic films to her credit as Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, Bea Richards has been a part of the inner city family of celebrities since the early days.
I have been an affiliate of the center for the last 22 years, and it has been my cultural home. I had the opportunity of publishing with this institution my first book of poetry, and winning my first Emmy Area Award for A Black Woman Speaks, that was directed by C. Bernard Jackson and developed here at the Inner City Cultural Center. So that it has been the center that I just wouldn't like to have to do without.
The list of celebrated personalities that have graced the stages of inner city is extensive.
Childish pranks, the water balloons, the itching powder, even the plastic duty. I can't stop it. I really can't. Inside me, there's a real...
Named in honor of the late Elaine Koshke, One of the center's first administrators, the Elaine Koschke Arts Award is annually given to people from various backgrounds for their contributions to community theater and the minority community.
Make it possible for people like myself to go on, because this is where we learn our craft, because this is where we really come together and feel the excitement and the pleasure of acting, producing, directing, doing sets, putting on makeup. You can say you're an actor, you can say you're right, but you gotta act, you gotta write. You have to do. The only place that many people of color get an opportunity to do the things that they do are in studies like this. This is where we learn how to craft.
Curiosity always got you guessing. Questions spinning round in your mind. Curiosity, find out what you're missing. Something going down all the time. Yeah. Where you lead, don't you know that I will follow? We'll leave no stone unturned. Hey, hey!
Inner City Cultural Center. It is neither the Dorothy Chandler Pavilion, nor is it the Mark Taper Forum. It is not the Lincoln Center of New York, nor the Kennedy Center of Washington, D.C. Like all of these places, however, Inner City is indeed a national artistic treasure. It is not too black, it is not too political. This may be the key to the center's survival. It is not just valuable to a nation of African Americans, but to America as a whole.
Talent knows no racial boundaries. There is as much talent in this room as you will find on any stage in this city. And the struggle to have that talent exposed to the public has been a great uphill fight. But you have the tenacity. You have not given up. The Inner City Cultural Center is just one example of that kind of struggle and the kind of faith that it takes. You are the last outpost for some. You are the entry point for many who have tried to break into an acting career, simply didn't have the support or the resources or the access to get it done. Here, you can find hope. Here, you can get encouragement. So I think I am indebted to you. This city is indebted to you for what you have done.
There are new generations being created, and those new generations are very soon going to be handed a legacy, and I'm grateful for the fact that we have a legacy to present to them.
A legacy, an oasis that caters to the cultural thirst of groups within groups of people. One that will not dry up because the people who take from it return time and again to replenish it. It's an oasis of artistic fertility in a world that can often be as cruel as the desert itself, offering revitalization and impetus to any traveler on that desert who could not cross it otherwise.
You've got several theaters out in LA, but they don't particularly want you. And Inner City says, yes, it's a place where we want you, we need you, we need your creativity. And it feels good to have a home like that. And it's important to keep these doors open.